So today is going to be my first video entry. I'm in the process of becoming self-sufficient while on housing assistance. And for the last 5 going on 6 years, finding something that I truly desire has been very challenging, with everything that happened with the housing crisis and how the rules, regulations, and requirements have become even more strict, causing clients of housing assistance to be even more challenging than it was before. My most recent experience was not a very pleasant one. So I'm in the process of filing a discrimination report. I'm going to share this story with you guys, and maybe you guys can give me your feedback. I've shared this story with several people, and I've got almost the same response from everybody that I told this story to. The only thing is, like I said, the situation was very frustrating and very challenging, and I'm at a point where I need to do something about it. But along the way, with my apartment search, while being on housing, I discovered a couple tips to help improve my credit, help build my credit score, and how I managed to kind of try to make it work in my favor or use it to the best of my ability from what I've learned over the last 5-6 years. So I'm creating this video to not only share my experience with becoming more self-sufficient while on housing assistance, but I'm also creating this video to share some of the credit building tips and credit building strategies that I've used personally myself that worked very well, in a way where I have a lot more room to do more or expect more, at least. Bear with me. This is my introduction. I have so much information that I want to share. It's just really a matter of putting things in order on how I want to get the message across. As a voucher holder, what some people would call it, or a client of the housing authority that I'm with, there are a lot of stipulations and requirements that have to first be approved or considered before taking the next step, which is pretty much the application process. And then after the application process, there's another process of inspection and things of that nature. And I cannot tell you how many times I can get past step 2 and step 3 and make it to step 4 and step 5, and then everything falls apart. I've tried many different ways to kind of work with these challenges. Some worked in my favor, some didn't. But I'm just feeling like with the experience, I feel like I should share. So here it goes. Starting with the Avalon community in Lexington. I wasn't going to do it, but skip it. I'm going there. I'm putting the name out. I don't know. Hopefully this doesn't blow up too big, or hopefully this doesn't cause any discrepancies or whatever. And then maybe somebody can fill me in with more information on pieces of the puzzle that I could possibly be missing, or a level that I'm not understanding. But my apartment search has been very diligent. As I've stated before, I've literally been looking for an apartment for the last, I'm gonna say 5 going on 6 years. Although within the last 3, I was able to move or relocate, as most, that's the terms that they use through housing. I was able to relocate within the last 3 years. But it was mostly out of a friend's concern for an issue that I was faced with that had become so overwhelmingly difficult that at this point in my time in life, I had became desperate to relocate. And I kind of got to a point where I was willing to accept anything, no matter the measure of what it costs, or what it took me to get it or to achieve it. So one of the many challenges that I faced often with my apartment search was the credit check. The credit check started off difficult for me because at the time in life, I knew nothing about credit. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know how to build it. I didn't know how effective it was. I didn't know how much it helped. I didn't know how much it could improve the quality of your life, honestly. Just to be honest, the quality of my life has changed. I don't want to say drastically, but it's definitely changed a lot since discovering these things, which is another reason why I'm interested in doing this. Because I know if I didn't know, there's some people who still don't know. Anywho, so back in May, around May 23rd, I had been diligently looking for a 3-bedroom unit. Within the last year, I put into a lot of intense effort to build my credit score, and I wanted to try to build it really quickly. Although I was trying to build it really quickly, 1 year's time has been the quickest that I was able to get my credit score to where I wanted it to be in order to try to move forward with this process. When I first started 5 years ago, my credit score was 630. And due to the fact that I was searching for apartments then, as hard as I'm looking now, a lot of apartment complex did credit checks. And what I did not know was, although the apartment complexes or condos, whoever you're going to, when they do these credit checks, although they are soft inquiries, they still affect your credit score in a way. Because if you get too many inquiries on your credit score, it can either cause it to be stagnant or it could cause it to drop, which is, in the credit world or in the credit aspect of things, it hinders you from qualifying even more. Because the constant credit reports or the constant credit checks actually lowers your score, making you less qualified. I didn't learn that until after searching for so many apartments and then finally having an opportunity to check my credit score, and it was way lower than I originally started with, which also made my apartment search way harder, and I had to pump the brakes, and I kind of was stuck or kind of forced to live in an apartment that I was really trying to leave from because of the living conditions. The living conditions had become very unbearable. It was very uncomfortable. I'm going to go into that whole story, but I'm going to save that for a later date just because I want to talk about the most recent experience, which was me managing to get my credit score up to 730. I finally decided, okay, I'm going to resume my apartment search with feeling more confident that because I've managed to get my credit score to such a high number that I thought everything was going to be a go. And turns out other things matter more. Okay. I chose to intentionally only focus on apartment communities because more than likely apartment communities usually their units usually come with a washer and dryer in the unit. And for the most either in the building as well. The move-in cost is usually a lot cheaper in comparison to how much it would cost to rent a condo or an apartment that's not in a community, or that's not in a complex. So I came across Avalon communities, and what I did was I looked up the whole Avalon, and I looked up in my state all the apartment communities that they have in my state. Another thing about the housing voucher program or the housing assistance program is they give you a sheet that has the payment standard for each city in the state where they cover, or they tell you what their standard for that city is. And those rates for the payments that they're willing to pay are usually within the guidelines or according to what the units in that whole area cost. So for some cities, housing pays more. For some cities, housing pays less, which is understandable. The only thing that made my housing search a bit difficult with that is every time I looked in a different city that's outside of the current city that I live in, I have to check this sheet to check the city to see if the payment standard that my housing is willing to pay is in the price range of whatever the apartment that I'm searching for is asking for. So that's already a bit challenging because normally when I look, I always find units that I really, really like. They're usually anywhere from $500 to $1,000 over what my housing is willing to pay. But with this most recent one, it actually was $500 less than what my housing is willing to pay for that area. And because of that gave me a lot of security. I feel like it gave me a lot of security. It gave me a lot of confidence to feel like, okay, I went on this website. This website said that they have 5 units available from 2 weeks after the day that I initially went to see this place all the way till about mid-July. I'm gonna go into detail because there were a couple things that happened that I really left it bad. So the apartment rate was $500 less. Now keep in mind also when it comes to these apartment communities, a lot of the rates change, and on some of them a lot of the rates change daily. So mind you, considering all of this is in my mind. All of these are kind of the steps and the procedures and the barriers or whatever qualifications that need to be kind of ran through before even considering going to see the place. That's like before you even called to make the appointment. It's like you got to make sure everything is checked off the list and check it twice. Anywho, so the apartment I found was $500 less than what my housing covers for this area. There were so many apartments available within a stretch of time that it really felt very possible for me to get one of these places. Especially what I've been looking for is a 3-bedroom, and I'm not gonna lie, 3 bedrooms have been difficult as well to kind of find. So I found the apartment online. A friend of mine, my friend, she also is looking for an apartment. And seeing as though this apartment community had 5 units available, my friend was interested in going with me to see if we could, view the apartment, to see if we, feel like it's nice enough to want to relocate at this current time and take the next step, which is, setting the appointment for the application process and putting a deposit and everything like that. So May 23rd, we scheduled an appointment and we went to the place. Now, around this time, COVID was still pretty active, so we weren't allowed in the actual leasing office. When we first got there, we had to talk to one of the representatives or one of the people from management, kind of through a window. But what they did was they accommodated us the best way they could. So we made the appointment. The appointment was to view one of their 2-bedroom units, just to kind of get a look and a feel on, the apartment itself, to see how it's set up, to see if we, if we like it, if we would enjoy it or whatever. At this point, because I have been searching for so long for an apartment, because I've been through so many different steps and so many different challenges and so many different situations, I had already knew before I went to look at the apartment that I wanted it. So what I did was, according to the online requirements, I had already had everything. They wanted $1,000 deposit. The everything else is paid accordingly, as far as like first and last. When you have housing, or when you're a client of housing, housing usually helps you pay first and last month. The only thing about that is, according to what your income is, you pay 30% of your income.